And we're back. This week we wanted to do another deep dive, as we always do, into a topic that's honestly been super hot during the pandemic, right? And no, I'm not talking about 5Gs or Nazis this time. We're talking about TCG, all right? We're talking about trading card games, or according to the all-knowing Wikipedia, a collectible card game. Some people use CCG as an abbreviation. Also called a trading card game, among other names, is a type of card game that mixes strategic deck-building elements with features of trading cards introduced with Magic the Gathering in 1993. And that's what we're kicking off with in this week's deep dive. How did TCG start? Well, the first TCG started with Magic the Gathering, which was developed by Richard Garfield and published by Wizards of the Coast in 1993. And its initial runs rapidly sold out that year. By the end of 1994, Magic the Gathering had sold over 1 billion cards, and during its most popular period between 2008 and 2016, sold over 20 billion cards. Magic ain't nothing to fuck with. Magic the Gathering...
My girlfriend's brother.
Yeah. Magic the Gathering's early success led to other game publishers to follow suit with their own TCGs in following years. Other successful CCGs include Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is estimated to be above 35 billion cards as of January 2021, and Pokemon, which has sold over 30.4 billion cards at the end of March 2020. So my first real question for you guys, because the TCG question was hypothetical, but the first real question is why do you believe we see that trading card games go through waves of popularity, right? There was a big wave in the beginning. There was a big wave when Pokemon came out. There's a big wave that we're on right now. Why do you think trading card games go through waves of popularity? Jake, we'll start with you.
I mean, in short, the internet.
Yeah.
I feel like when we were kids, Pokemon cards and other ones were most sold because of how popular the shows were. Like, a lot of folks might not realize, but Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, a lot of those shows were just created to sell cards. With the internet, things can be hyped by more than a weekly TV show and some ads that you'd see as a kid, or even just a McDonald's deal. Personally, I loved collecting the cards as a kid. So when, I started seeing cards that I had back then, or at least feel like I had them, because I don't have access to that collection anymore. Thanks, Mom. Seeing for selling, they were selling for thousands of dollars. I thought, like, fuck, I need to get back in. Like, it's almost like the AMC and GameStop thing of stocks, where it's like, you bought AMC at $6, then you see it at 30, and you're like, oh shit, like, or you sold at 30, but then you saw it at 70, and you're like, well, fuck, I need to get back in, but you don't need to get 70, trust me. Anyway, so but now I have a pretty awesome collection because I have bought a few online. I actually had a few childhood friends that after I posted on Facebook, they were like, yo, I'll sell you mine. And so I bought them from them. And so, but I think the reason why we see these waves is it's all about hype. I think, in 93 when they dropped, it was something new. And so that caused it. And then in the late 90s, when they really started to blossom, it was because of the anime shows. Like I said, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, stuff like that. And I think this new resurgence has really been because of the internet and eBay and being able to see some of these things fetch, hundreds of thousands of dollar price tags. You're just like, the internet's the biggest hype machine to ever be built. So, I think that's a big, the big popularity. And then YouTubers, man, streamers, stuff like that, like they definitely have caused the resurgence now.
Yeah, I think that there was... what happened, especially for a lot of people, myself included, once the pandemic hit, people kind of made some decisions on things that they wanted to do. A lot of people went into streaming. A lot of people went into TCG. A lot of people went into, kind of really exploring the things that they wanted to do. And with developers not making new stuff, it's kind of like, well, was always the one that you wanted to go back to? Well, tons of people were going back to that. Plus, you can't, not only were people going back to it, but content creators as well were trying to figure out, like A-Drive, I know there was no Pokemon games that were coming out, and A-Drive is strictly a Pokemon streamer. What's he going to do during the pandemic? Guess we're going to start opening some TCG cards. And stuff like that just snowballed from there to this wave, I think. I think that there are always ingredients that I think play into these waves coming in there. I think the second wave of TCG popularity was strictly from Pokemon entering the game. But Cape, why do you think TCG goes through waves of popularity?
Well, it's kind of like the whole saying of history repeats itself every year. And it's generally that. I mean,
Yeah.
the generation that started with Pokemon is now having their kids go
Right.
do it. And also, you know, they have other things such as the video games and so on and so forth from that. And I agree with Jake as well about the show will definitely influences the actual trading card stuff, because I remember like Young Justice would not be a show because for the next season because it did not sell
Right.
toys. That being
Yeah.
said, too, there's also an element of the lottery.
Right.
It's kind of like get your golden ticket in a way. I'm not a TCG person,
Pokemon
but I
cards are
definitely see
loot
it about
boxes, but we're not going to talk
Right.
about
Yeah.
that game.
But still, it's the element of keeping up with the Joneses. It's
Yeah.
I have something that you don't, but also it's the element of comic books. Some people get comic books. Hey, how can I get Mad
But like
Money
comic
on
books
this?
remains pretty
When
consistently popular, right? Like to me, TCG definitely has these big spikes. You know
that's a good
what?
point. Yeah, yeah,
I think
can see that.
I think comics they
Yeah.
follow books, and I think books get their shine every
Right.
now and then. Like it's one of those things where like I think it's just Kate brought up a good point with history repeating itself. I think we as like humans are just very cycly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, we'll be on to something for a little while, then we'll cycle off to something else. And it's very much like, you know, we'll pick and choose different things to be hype about. And I think like every 5 or so years, Pokemon gets re-hyped, you know? Or not Pokemon,
Pokemon
but
cards.
just
Yeah.
card games. Yeah, Pokemon cards and cards in general. Like I think sports cards like baseball cards and stuff like that, they were so huge when I was a kid. So getting back into Pokemon cards made me find out that people were still into sports
I mean,
memorabilia cards. And I was like, holy shit, that's a thing.
If-
Like you people
if you
still
look
buy
at
these?
the
It's huge.
but if you look at the timeline of how the whole thing works out, this gap actually from now and this big latest wave to the last wave, which was pretty much when Pokemon was popular, I mean that's a huge gap. Of the 40 years that Pokemon has been around for, or sorry, trading card games have been around for, you know, a majority of that is actually in the 2000s, from, you know, around 2010 to about now, about a decade of gap, you know. And I don't think that before, you know, I don't know. It just seems to me it's very interesting, the cycles that TCG. I agree that the humans are cyclical, but this has a particularness to that cycle, you know.
Yeah,
It's very, and I think to me, it always is several ingredients that factor into it. You can point to a couple of things. I think the big one, you know, Magic the Gathering was huge when it first came out. That was the first big boom, and then there was a second big boom when TCG did, and that's the whole reason, is because they approached a younger demographic. They also expanded it to something that was global and not just you know, local. And so there are hard things that you can point to that made it from there. But it is interesting to me that it was so. It went through phases, you know.
Yeah. No, it has been like it's almost
Right.
like a roller coaster, which is interesting, you know, like because obviously that's like the you know most overused analogy for things that go up and down a shitload, but it really is like it's one of those where like, you know, every now and then you won't hear anybody talking about Pokemon cards, and then you'll hear it again, and it's the same I think for all trading cards in a way though. Like they just kind of but specifically Pokemon I think definitely goes hard, but I think it's always this one I don't want to blame on logic, but I think it's Logic's fault.
Right. No.
And Jake Paul
Yeah,
and
the
the
Pauls.
Pauls. And they, because I think one of them did a fucking video where they like, you know, they did they opened a pack that was like an old pack from the '90s and stuff. They did like a, you know, an opening,
No,
and that
it
hit
was
millions
him.
of views.
He was the one that was buying these cards at ridiculous prices, which was giving them a price.
Was giving them a price. It's like a piece of art's not really worth anything until someone buys it for what you say it's worth, right? Like, and so I think that's what's happened with Pokemon.
I can say this piece of art on the
Well, it's
back
also
wall
kinda
here
like
is
the
worth
internet.
100,000. If I made it, you know, oh, it's $100,000 piece of art. I happen to own it, you know, because I made it. But no one can tell me otherwise until someone buys it, and then it's actually worth that. And that's what
it's 100,000.
Jake Paul did to fucking Charizards.
Well, it's also you trying to. It's kind of like when a website becomes extremely popular when it wasn't
Right.
popular at all. You know, it just crashes it completely.
Yeah.
And I
Fucking
mean,
death.
also, I mean, Black
Yeah.
Friday is a good example of all this too. Just like you've had me look at scalper videos, and I'm like,
Yeah.
holy crap!
Piranha
You know, like,
capitalism.
why?
That's what I call it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Going mad dash. All right, well, moving right along, what makes trading cards unique? You know, why are trading cards such a unique medium? There's tons of different card games, but trading card games are its really own category. And with that, what makes them so unique and collectible? So, what makes them different than other card games out there, but what makes them also different as a collectible? Cape, let's start with you.
Well, I'll answer that. Yeah, well, it's just the people interacting with their actual cards. I mean, they're their own characters, and it's not, well, like, I've given comic books to people to read. Hey, read this.
Right.
This is great. But the thing is, like, they actually interact with the actual, you actually have an outcome to what you're doing.
Right.
Game aspect of it. I mean, just rarity as well and all that we just went through, but still, it's the fact that you actually get to interact with it.
No, exactly.
Trading, trading, playing with them. I think that's that's the huge part of it.
Right.
You know, is you don't really trade many collectibles.
I think it's the intersection of what makes them collectible and also the fact that makes them a card game, right?
Yeah, it's a game
Right.
you can actually play. Like you can collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and you can also thrack somebody with some Blue Eyes White Dragons, and you know that's an interesting thing. I can't fight you with.
And
my
some
Funko
are more
Pops.
collected more than they are battled with.
I mean, I could.
Yeah, you could like throw them at
Or your
least.
Furby.
I'll throw
Yeah.
Funko Pops at you.
Be like, Superman's not real. He can't fly. Bitch, he flies today. You know. But anyways, I think that it's the intersection between being a collectible and something that you can interact with, not just as a game, but like most collectible things, right? Just sit on a shelf and just collect dust. But trading cards actually are one of there are collectibles that do have uses, right? But one of those that does have a functional use to it, and I think that is something that makes it really, really unique. Because Magic the Gathering, you know, you don't see, there are some super rare Magic cards. Do not get me wrong, but also if you go to Target and you're looking for trading cards, what are you gonna find?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Magic.
There's a whole wall of
Right.
Magic the Gathering
Right.
over there. There's not people bum rushing to get that one, you know, like, but it's still a highly
But it's a very
popular
popular game, but it's just
And I
not
think
as
that's-
collectible. It's not. They don't have
Yeah,
a
yeah.
Rainbow Charizard in there that's worth that they've said is an ultra rare and is worth X amount of dollars now. You know.
Yeah.
That they don't have a list of officiated like this is worth this much and this is our structure of which cards are more rare than others. Magic just has cards that are playable, and like some of the most rarest Magic cards are cards that you get from winning tournaments. You know,
Yeah.
and because you won the tournament.
I think, and nostalgia plays a
Right.
big factor too. You know, as far as like what makes trading cards unique. I think for I don't want to say the boomer generation, maybe right after the boomers, and you know that whole generation was essentially baseball cards. Baseball cards were huge at one point, right? And so I think they're still, you know, like I'll see a lot of like middle-aged or older guys at the Target line when I go to buy Pokemon cards before they banned them. And I'm like, what are you guys here for? And they're like, baseball cards.
Right.
And so they're still into baseball cards. Whereas like Pokemon came out in the later 90s. You know, I'm not into Magic. It came out in 93. I mean, I don't want to age myself too bad. I was 3, you know? And so like Magic was a little too early for me, but Pokemon came, you know, really came into, you know, a big hits in the like 98, 99, kind of like right in that time frame, right as soon as I was getting old enough to like really gain consciousness of the TV. And so like, I think like that's why I bought into Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon more. You know?
What a fucking time to be
like,
alive. To
really
be a 10-year-old right when Pokemon hit the shelves. Like that is one thing that these generations they won't get, right? There was a sense of mystery of like exploring in your own little Game Boy Pokemon universe that doesn't exist in stream or with the internet or anything else out there. Like missing no.
I hate to be the old like times, you know, like that guy, but it really is like it was different experiences before, you know, like we all went digital,
and that's also, as you see, Nintendo, that's why your shit sells, because of nostalgia, right? To be a kid in that time, I just want to be a kid in that time. Let me play Sword and Shield for 234 hours.
Our generation's nostalgic for it because we actually lived it, and then the Zoomers below us are actually just like they're just like, oh, that's fucking, it's from the 90s,
right?
That's cool,
it's
you know. Like,
trendy.
they just look at it as like
that's a real trendy.
It's very it's in. 90s is
Yeah,
chic right now.
it is. It is. It really is. But unique as a well, we talked about that as unique as collectible. What got you into trading cards? If anything, what is your favorite card to collect and why? Jake, we'll start with you because I know that you do collect these. I know Cape, you collect a lot of stuff, but I don't know how much cards you collect.
Yeah.
But you know what you're talking about here. I know.
Mine's
Right.
gonna be an interesting answer because there's a few cards that I collect physically, as if like actual like tangible. I can hold them in my hand. Cards, Pokemon
Right.
and Yu-Gi-Oh. I have a pretty decent collection on both of those. It's funny because I've actually never played Pokemon though. I've only collected
Right.
Pokemon cards. I've never played the game. It was like that's why I got so mad. And if the stream, I probably they're gonna get tired of hearing me talk about it. But like, it's why I got so mad when my mom gave my Pokemon cards away to
Right.
some
We need to
other
make a
kids when I went to
supercut of
college.
Jake complaining about.
And no, it's because you don't know what it takes for an
Right.
8-year-old to open a pack of cards and then put them in a binder and go, never play
Right.
with these, Jake. Never go. Like, I'm not taking them to school. People would be like, do you have this card, playing with them on the playground? And I'd be like,
I
yeah,
do
at my house.
safely.
In an air-conditioned
Yeah.
room, you fucking, Neanderthal.
Exactly.
Yeah, I loved Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. Though I went
Right.
hard with. I've got a couple of those. They're all in card sleeves, but I played the fuck out of Yu-Gi-Oh. I even played a few Pokemon. Or
See,
a
I
few
actually
Yu-Gi-Oh
played
tournaments.
Yu-Gi-Oh versus I collected
Yeah.
Pokemon cards, but I
I
played
collected
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Pokemon. I played
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh. And so, but I played you. I even did it at Books a
Mhm.
Million. I don't know if you guys remember that back in the day. Books a Million and other bookstores would have like fucking these like awesome, tournaments
Right.
and everything. They used to do Magic a lot. They did Yu-Gi-Oh too, and I played that. But digitally, I collect Madden Ultimate Team cards every year. I play Madden Ultimate Team, which is essentially where you can rip packs on Madden that you pay for with like digital currency that you have to buy
Right.
with real money. And like you pull packs and you get these real athletes, like say like like Randy Moss, right? And then you can actually build a team with the cards that you pull and play those against each other. And you can trade them, sell them. There's a whole MUT economy that like I'm not gonna go into, but it's one of the coolest parts of the game is being able to actually collect and then play against someone else with those cards. So if I like pull a dope Randy Moss card, people are actually mad because like when you play online, there's only like 20 of those cards or some shit. And so if you pull one, you've got like one of the best cards in the game. I've seen people actually pay hundreds of physical real life dollars for a digital Michael Vick card that they can only use for 1 year because you have to buy new cards every season.
Yeah.
So that's how they get you.
Because it's a capitalism game, man. That's what this trading. That's what I hate about trading cards. Is it is a capitalist contest of like nobody's business. But
it
is gambling.
and it's fun and it's gambling for
It
children.
is gambling for children. These are much more. If you let your kids spend your own money on this is more gambling than a loot box. This is hardcore gambling.
It really is. Yeah. I mean, odds wise, I mean, shit. You might as well be playing the lotto to get a Charizard or some shit. I mean, I think you have better odds.
Honestly,
Charizard,
you do.
Whatever.
And
you get it.
I think you. I don't know. It's close there. But anyways, Cape. What about you? Any trading cards that you're particularly fond of?
I'm not really big into trading cards
Right.
myself, but I do really appreciate the fandom behind it. Just because, like, besides the whole scalpers thing, I do appreciate, like, what did you say before we went on the show? Like, I knew this through the spectator view or whatever. And I think that's something that I find very admirable of just like, you really grow to learn to appreciate different kinds of universes that people have. But I've always found the whole mythos pretty interesting from the outsider looking in. Just like what kind of people are Yu-Gi-Oh people, what kind of people are Magic people, what people still stay to it. Like Magic people typically stay
And I
to
think
Magic.
those are the big three as far as the physical cards go. Hearthstone is in there if you're talking about digital card games as well. But I think that those are the three big ones. And honestly, if you look at it, I think that, to be honest, is it Yu-Gi-Oh? Is Yu-Gi-Oh the one that's actually the perfect blend? Because Pokemon to me is more collectible than card game. And Magic, I feel like, is more... Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh to me feel like more card game than collectible. And and that aspect, like they are completely different animals. When you say trading card games and you talk about a spectrum between Pokemon and Magic, I think that's a it's a huge spectrum, you know. So it's always been interesting to me. We talked a little bit in the intro about the resurgence of TCG. With franchises like Pokemon selling over 30 billion cards in 2020, what has caused this latest resurgence, Jake?
I mean, I think I said it before, and I'll say it again. The internet hyping it up, influencers getting in on it's a big one. You know, like some of the people we mentioned earlier. Like I said, I really blame a lot of this on Logic. I mean, it was huge news whenever he bought a Charizard card for like $100 and something thousand in an eBay, you know, like on a bid, and it was like, oh, this is what rappers are spending their money with, and it's just like, yeah, the dude's a millionaire. Yeah, like, I mean, flexecution. So shout out Logic. But like, no, that's it. So it was one of those where like I think people started to jump on that train and go, oh, okay, well, if somebody's gonna spend $100,000 on one card, and I can just spend a couple bucks on a pack of cards, then I'm gonna pull a bunch of packs. But then everybody fucking thought that, and so then like you're selling out of packs, and then it's like, okay, well then how do I get packs? Well, I've got to buy them online. All right, well let's look on StockX. Okay, this is only $20 over retail. I guess I'll buy it. Now you've made it normal to buy Pokemon cards, like boxes, for $20 over retail. And so like, now all these people are never going to stop selling them because they can do that. They can wake up and go to the store and buy them all while, you don't have the time to, and then resell them on StockX. They don't give a fuck. So anyway, I think the resurgence was caused by the internet. I think it's the internet's fault, like most things that's happened in the past decade or so. But like, I mean, it's still, it is what it is,
Well, also, it's also definitely like 2020 as a whole. I mean, you said it very well.
That's a big one too.
Like, what's this Pokemon YouTuber going to do? Because he can't go out and do Pokemon Go. He's just going to open packs all day. And you hit the nail on the head on that.
And there wasn't anything coming out for that. And, again, these people they don't have much choices to do, so they're going to start opening packs. And also, people went through a lot of their old stuff. That wasn't just Pokemon cards that saw that resurgence, like antiques and just secondhand stuff. They're like, oh, I'm going through everything in the attic. Holy shit, I found all these Pokemon cards. And since more people were doing that all at once, and these cards were going at such high prices, I think that to me is what caused. I think it was building, and the point where the snowball started rolling down the hill and really started just going out of control was when Logic and Logan Paul and all these people started putting a price tag on first set Charizards.
Well, the largest price tags we had ever seen too, because when we were kids, some sold for pretty big, especially like not like as much, right? But there were rare cards. Like I remember, there's one now that's still one of the highest sell, like one of the most expensive Pikachu cards. That card was expensive in the 90s too, like especially and then in the early 2000s because of its rarity. There was only like 5 of them printed or some shit, right? And so it was like one of those things where it was already a mega rare card, but now we're seeing what used to be $5,000 cards. Like stuff like that going for $105,000, and you're just like, oh shit! So the Pokemon market is the housing market. Thanks, fucking capitalism.
Yeah, for real. But what do you guys think though? Is the latest resurgence a good thing or a bad thing? Right? Is this something that's really expanding the Pokemon fan base, or is this just scalpers gone wild? I mean, it's hard to argue that it's a good thing after seeing those videos in Walmart, right? Cape, what do you think?
I mean, it's good and bad. I mean, it's good for, the people who run it, duh.
Right.
But like, it's probably, I mean, who's the target audience here? Is it the kids, or is it, like, that's something that I keep on thinking about, like, who, like, are they taking cards away from kids just to kill the aspect of it? Like, that's what gets me
right.
Yeah.
Jake, what do you think?
I've heard a lot of people talk about that. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's good for the companies. I think it's good for TCG overall. Like, I think it's good that some of these cards have more value, because it's cool that something that I own, something that I'm interested in, does hold so much value, right? It's like, if like tomorrow, something happened and the sneaker market fell through, you guys can see I have some behind me. I'd be a little pissed. I've got a
Right.
couple. I don't plan on reselling them, but shit, if times got hard, I probably would
Right.
ante up.
And
You know
sometimes
what I
it's
mean?
good just
And
knowing
so I
that
need
you
that
have
market
that
to hold.
worth, like that the stock,
Yeah, it's like
Right.
an asset
Right.
in a way, yeah. And so, like, I think it's good from that perspective, but I definitely think it's bad for, like Cape said, kids who are trying to get into TCG. Like when I was growing up, I didn't have to fight fully grown men for Pokemon
Right.
cards. I just didn't. Like by then those cards, like they weren't selling for thousands of dollars, I guess. So that's why it's happening the way it is. So I get it. But it's why, I also started making decks that I post on Facebook, like, and I mean, shit, I'll say it here. You can fucking DM me. I have decks that I build that I give away to anybody who has a kid that wants a deck. Because, like, I think all kids should be entitled to these cards. And if you rip packs, you're pulling so many duplicates and bullshit that you don't
Right.
need. Give them a fucking way. Like, pay
Right.
it forward, right? And so, like, no kid is entitled to a $100,000
Right.
Charizard. Fuck that. Fuck them kids on that front. But I do believe they deserve to be able to play with the cards.
If you're going
like,
through and setting
I
up
try to-
competitive decks, like I could probably use one for one. Like, since now we're post-apocalypse, right? And I can go to a card shop and
You let me know if there's some specific guys. I literally have so many duplicate cards that I even hit up my sister-in-law who works at a library and asked her if they needed some donations of some shit. Because like
Yes.
I have boxes of like stuff, and so it's just like, and it's all because I was like, obviously Charizard hunting, doing some shit like that, getting crazy with it, and so buying up a bunch of fucking packs and boxes for no fucking reason because I never got that Charizard. So
no, I agree.
Decks for a cause.
but I do think the resurgence is good for TCG, right? I just don't think it's good for some people.
Well,
And I
here's
really
my
want
question:
this
is it
whole,
good
like-
for TCG? Because I see Yu-Gi-Oh on the cards there. I see
Yes, sir.
Magic on the shelf there. Is it good for TCG or is it just good for Pokemon and baseball cards? That's the thing I want to say, because people keep on saying like, this is good for people getting into TCG. I used to say like, oh well, it's 50-50. Their scalpers get theirs, but TCG gets more popularity. I'm starting to actually tilt that scale back towards the scalpers and say, no, I think this is actually more of a problem with scalping than anything else. And it is a resurgence, yes, but I think it kind of is a bad thing in that regard. What do you think?
I hope it dies down so that like I think it's COVID
Right.
too. COVID
The
made
printing,
everything drop
the
culture,
other
but
part about this that's a great point. The other part about this is that printing is limited, and the supply will eventually meet up for Pokemon cards, and so this shouldn't be a big problem. So that is one of the problems with it is the printing of cards. Just like, the same reason that PlayStation is having problems with getting its supply out because it has the superchargers, the micro. You know what I'm talking about. You guys know what I mean. They're having a shortage of those, and that's not allowing them to produce as many PlayStation 5. Same thing with printing cards here. And so that once that production does ramp up, the market's going to be flooded with a lot more supply, and that could actually relieve
Target
the pressure.
pulling them hurts stuff like that anyway.
Do what?
Target doing what it did by pulling them out and not selling them anymore, like making it like a no-no thing. It honestly like hurts it even more. Like I just like I was really hoping that what Pokemon would do, not hoping, but kind of like secretly hoping, was that Pokemon would go, oh, y'all want cards? And then just fucking mass print. Like make it almost like crash the market with just how much Pokemon cards are on the market. But I don't think they would ever do that, and I don't think they physically can, if I'm being honest. Like you said, they have to be printed, and they only have so many factories and so much they can do, especially during COVID. And so like, I think that added a lot of factors to it. Was limited supply. It was resurging online, as most things were during COVID. And so like, it may actually be bad. I mean, Nelly made a good point though, that for people who like missed out on Pokemon cards because of the drops, they may have gone, oh, well, little Billy, why don't you grab Yu-Gi-Oh? And then you've got a new kid who's getting into Yu-Gi-Oh that may have went there for Pokemon, and so there could have been some spillover to the other ones. I doubt it's as much as, we would hope, but I think there probably
I hope there is.
There was definitely some kids who went and got Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic maybe because
I still see Yu-Gi-Oh decks up there, and honestly, sometimes I'm tempted just to see what they are, just because I love trading card games in that dimension. And I could still play Yu-Gi-Oh. I feel like you could just, if you updated me on a couple of rules, I think I can still play Yu-Gi-Oh.
I've heard bad things. I've heard they've changed a lot of tournament rules that used to be like, and it's made a lot of like older fans pissed because it's not like their headcanon anymore. Because they're like, I think a lot of people watched the show and then wanted to play the game a lot like how the
And
show
there's
operated.
differences. There's big
And
differences.
and there's so many differences. Yeah. And I think they've made even more differences. Like the list of banned cards in Yu-Gi-Oh is sick. It's sickening. Like look it up sometime because it'll be stuff that you played with and like Pot of Greed and stuff like that. It's illegal. You can't even use those cards anymore. And so
that's ridiculous. I definitely remember Pot of Greed on there.
Ridiculous.
Kate, what do you think? Do you think this latest resurgence is a good thing or a bad thing? Or did I already ask you that? I think I already asked that, did I? I did ask that. Yep.
You did ask me that.
One thing that helped push TCG into the mainstream was moving digital, right? Magic Online was released in 2002, quickly became popular and started its own line of tournaments. The internet promised to transcend borders and connect players in a way that tabletop gaming could not. Nonetheless, it would take another wave of development for the digital genre to come into its own. Do you think this digital wave has helped TCG become what it is today? Jake, we'll start off with you.
I definitely think it played a role in it, but I don't think digital cards ever will hold the same value as physical cards. I've seen the chat popping off about NFTs, stuff like that. Like, and I definitely think there are some digital things that'll hold some value, especially if they are like an NFT and you can be the only person that owns that digital code for that one thing or whatever. Like I can see the application there and like why it would be valuable, but I don't think in my lifetime I'll see like if you look at the overall like if there's a bell curve average, right? I don't think I'll ever see digital cards catching physical cards on that average of like value, if you know what I mean. Right. And so there'll be outliers 100%, but physical trading cards are going to always overvalue, like I think the physical cards are going to overvalue the digital cards.
I think so for sure, but I think that there are.
I think it's monetarily and nostalgia wise too, because I don't hear many people going like I could have like probably bought a little Gengar card to keep on my computer. I guess I don't know. But like, what the fuck is that compared to actually like having it? You know what I mean? Like, I guess to me, I may just be old.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get that. And then like, the other thing to think about, oh shit, I lost. But like, digital cards for a lot of games, especially like Pokemon and Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh, the big ones that we talk about. There's already a physical aspect there, and a lot of these were made before digital cards were even a thing. So translating those over, like how do you get your Pot of Greed over to a digital format, even if you wanted to? I think the only one that's really thrived in the digital format and shown that the digital format is still viable is Hearthstone. Hearthstone exists completely digital, but it is a trading card game.
Yeah.
And I think that Hearthstone is a competitive game on the same level at Fortnite is, and it's brought trading card games into that arena. So I do think the digital wave has helped TCG tremendously, actually, if I had to argue one. Cape, what do you think?
I mean, it's kind of hard to tell because, like, it's kind of like comic books. Again, I keep on going back to comic books. I'm sorry. They will do it less, but they won't completely take it out altogether because there's something about having it physically that is completely different. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
And
true.
As popularity of both physical cards and digital cards, digital trading cards continue to grow, so did the players that involved in producing cards. In March 2014, Blizzard, the company behind the cultural sensation World of Warcraft, released, of course, Hearthstone to 70 million players. And so it's safe to say that this game carved out a healthy slice of its own digital market. Nonetheless, it remains a big problem with Hearthstone. Drumroll, is it an actual trading card game? Does having the actual physical tradable cards disqualify it as a trading card game? Cape?
I would say, I mean, you would always get the purists. That's the thing about it. You're always going to get those people that go, well, actually,
Right.
I mean, you're always going to go the people that say, "Well, I have this. Well, I have this." You know, like I've read The Long Halloween. I have all 13 issues, but like some people are like, I have to trade paperback for I read it online. Like, who's the real winner? I mean, there's no. It's just there's always going to be that one person that wants to one up.
Right,
You know?
right.
Yeah.
Jake, your thoughts? Does TCG have to be physical to be a trading card game?
Yeah, I mean, to quote Doofus Rick, I'm not going to tell you that these will go up in value or even hold their current value, but you bought them because you like them, so they have value to you, and that's all that matters. So
That's
I don't think they have
90s
to be
answer.
physical, but I do think tradable is kind of a must for a trading card game. But that's
Yeah,
just
I'm not positive whether or not Hearthstone's cards can actually be traded or not, but
when I read preparing for this, they
Yeah.
can. They can be. You can. I think it's called like. You can basically like destroy the cards for more points to buy
Right.
other cards, and you can. I think you can send people points or
Right.
something like that, but you can't physically trade people.
But
your
another
cards in
another
Hearthstone.
name for trading card games, a synonymous one, and probably a lot of the reason why people prefer CCG as a thing versus TCG is
Yeah.
they are collectible cards, and that is 100%
Collectible cards.
I think that
Exactly.
it's hard to say that Hearthstone isn't a collectible card game in that regard. And to me, you don't need necessarily the physical, the tradable aspect of it, especially if you have a game that functions like Hearthstone does, where it's designed to be like a trading card game, and I think that should be recognized as what it is and not have some kind of weird asterisk by it just because it is adapting and putting itself in a place where it can be on the same level as Fortnite, So that's my answer to the question of do you actually need physical trading cards? I don't think so. Trading card games are a very foundation of modern gaming communities. When Magic the Gathering started all the way back in the 90s, nobody could have predicted the breadth of the reach, right? Over the decades, as technologies have changed, so has the genre evolved, right? In times like these, it's crazy to think all this goes back to Milwaukee in 1993 when the world discovered TCGs. But we do want to end on this question. We looked at the past and everything, and we've talked about what's going on now with TCG. Looking forward, where do you guys see the future of TCG heading? Jake, we'll start with you.
I mean, I think the hype on some of these will subside.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think that's just the natural course, like we were talking about earlier, cycling.
Right.
Something else will be launched into the zeitgeist, and like moths to the light will gravitate towards
Right.
it. But I think TCG will remain. Obviously, it'll always be here. It's been here since '93, and so it's done nothing but grow in popularity. And so I think until the world's economies collapse, we'll be trading cards or buying cards.
I think afterwards, though, I think that to me.
We'll use them like bottle caps in Fallout. It'll be like, hey, do you got a loaf of bread? I got a fucking Charizard.
Right. No, I mean, the Charizard will get you a mansion, right? I think that you're going to be like, all right, for a loaf of bread, I'll give you this Wooloo. Like that holds. I think to me, as a millennial, we would see an easier system of value that you could easily determine out of Pokemon cards than we could others. If we're going to make our own money, I think Pokemon cards is a great bet for our own money.
It's like, I'll give you 2 packs of cards and a marble red or some shit.
Right.
And you're just like, here's a fresh fish. And
so
the end times are pretty
So
fun.
Jake went to the whole fucking apocalypse as far as where he thinks the future of TCG is going. Kate, where do you...
All right. Come to an end, my friend.
Jake's like, where do you think the future of TCG is going? We're going to be trading them as money in the apocalypse. Okay, that's not where I thought it was going to go, but no.
Yeah. Weird flex, but we'll go with
What
that.
about you, Kate? Where do you think the future of TCG is going?
I mean, people are always going to want what the next guy doesn't have or what they don't have. So, I mean, it's just going to be in the state of comic books, as I said before, of just they're still going to print them. They're still going to do digital. And, I mean, but I don't know exactly, like, how they're going to evolve and all that. I mean, I think they've been they're still like, it's crazy to think that it's still rather quote unquote new. And it's kind of
I
weird
mean,
to
it's
think
40
about.
years old at this point. We need to stop thinking of things that started in 1993 as new. You know, I think at least.
30.
No, 93, 73.
I was born in 90 and I'm
Okay,
30.
yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah,
So,
30 years. Yeah.
So
You're still
28,
new, Jake.
7 years.
You're
Yeah, I'm
still
still new.
Jake.
Don't be throwing 90s kids into the 40 bracket yet, son.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Numbers are hard. Everyone in the chat is going
Oh,
off on me.
I have socks on. I can't
Right,
count right now.
yeah. So numbers are hard.
But
Listen, I started in 93.
Yeah, for real. All right, well, that will wrap it up for our deep dive on Heart of the Cards. And everything going on in the world of trading card games right now. It's a lot of good prep for a video that we've got coming out hopefully shortly. We're looking at sometime later this week, either Tuesday or Wednesday. Keep a lookout on our YouTube channel for it on the history of TCG. And I'm telling you, we start all the way at fucking like where card games started, and then we go to where we are now of like Robin Walmart. So it's a really great video. And you know, it's got a lot of cool stuff in there, and we worked our ass off on it, so definitely go check that out later on this week. But that will take us to our top